So now we can begin. And once again, Gmar Chatima Tova. The summer of 2021 was a very special summer for me. After the cancellation of 2020, in June of 2021, we were able to go back to Ramah Darom, and I was able to teach there for 2 weeks. As many of you know, I love spending time at camp. I love going all around in soccer t-shirts and to teach Torah while wearing my flip-flops. And I really love the hilly surroundings of northern Georgia. I don't know if you have ever been there, but to me it's like my personal little Endor, if you know what I mean. I am still missing a few Ewoks here or there, but it's still pretty nice anyway. So during the summer of 2021, I was so excited to go back to Ramah. We arrived a few days early, and right away, I decided to go for a run. The thing is that I wasn't running at the time. And yet, I thought to myself, no big deal. You can handle. The first day was okay. The second day, I was feeling a bit sore. By the third day, I injured myself in such a way that I was limping all throughout camp for the next 2 weeks. I was in pain. I was in real pain. I have never experienced that type of hip pain before, and I couldn't believe it. I was getting old, and it wasn't fun at all. But if you think that that was painful enough, let me tell you how awful it was to see the pity on my fellow teachers' faces, let alone the awkward expression of many campers when they saw me aching all around. I could tell that they were thinking to themselves, oh boy, how old is this guy, 103? Trust me, it was painful. If you saw me, it's like, it was tough. By the end of those 2 weeks, I was still hurting. I remember going to New York right after camp and having a great time there, even if I was still walking funny. I guess that I made some people smile just by the way I was climbing or going down some stairs. In any event, as I was driving back to Nashville, I came to an important realization followed by an equally important decision. The realization was running is really not smart, especially if you are over 40. And the decision was I should go and get a treadmill and become a runner. So that is what I did. I got a treadmill. Becoming a runner may take me a while. But the point is that I went and I got one of those smart treadmills, the new ones, with a big screen on them. I don't know if you have ever seen one of those, but these treadmills allow you to run all around the world, kind of, while changing your pace and the incline of your workout based on your heart rate, among other things. It's really cool. You don't get super bored. You can, enjoy yourself a little bit. Not only that, you get to train with multiple coaches in all kinds of programs. So as I was exploring these different series, I came across a trainer that I particularly liked, a sweet soul who was a bit of a nerd. This tall, skinny, bearded guy was able to teach you about the place you are visiting while explaining the way in which your body reacts when you are training hard. And he was really, really good. So at some point, I became curious and I wanted to see how this guy runs when he's not coaching limping conservative rabbis and other amateur wannabe runners. So I went on YouTube. I went to YouTube, I typed his name, and to my surprise, I didn't find many videos of him running. Instead, I came across a ton of videos explaining what was going on with this guy all throughout 2020 and 2021. To make the story, a long story short, in the summer of 2020, at the age of 35, Tommy Rivers Pusey, that's the name of the guy, was struck by a very rare and aggressive cancer. He was in an induced coma for months as the doctors were trying to save his life. He not only lost a lot of weight, but by the time he woke up, he couldn't walk, he couldn't speak, or he couldn't eat by himself. So when I learned about what was going on with him, I was in shock. This guy capable of running the Boston Marathon in 2 hours and 18 minutes was now fighting for his life. After long months of uncertainty, and perhaps against all odds, Tommy Reeves, as he likes to be called, recovered, and for the time being, he is in remission. His story, as you may imagine, is nothing short of a miracle. When he went back home, he decided to push himself and to relearn how to use his body. It took him many, many months to be able to stand, to walk by himself, or to catch a breath without feeling exhausted. All those things that many of us take for granted, he had to regain one at a time. And the interesting thing is that it looks like he did that without kvetching. Instead, he became more thankful than ever for the extra time that he was given here on earth. But that was not it. Because in November of 2021, Tommy Reeves decided to participate in the New York City Marathon. So when I heard about this crazy idea, like 3 months before he couldn't even walk, I decided to follow the race over the internet. It took him 9 hours and 19 minutes to complete those 26.2 miles. When he crossed the finish line, it was hard not to get emotional. And even now, telling you this story, it is hard for me not to get goosebumps. But then, after New York came Boston, the Boston Marathon. But this time, I didn't follow Tommy's marathon on YouTube. Instead, I was able to run it with him on my treadmill. And I was able to witness the outpouring of love that thousands of runners gave him as people were becoming aware of who that guy was. This was the first time in years that he was trying not only to walk, but also to run. And as the miles were piling up, you could feel both his struggle and his pride as he was approaching the finish line. After 6 hours, 31 minutes, and 54 seconds, he made it. And guess what? I made it too. I actually completed the marathon, or the virtual marathon, over the course of 3 days, because remember, he used to be a professional athlete, and I'm still a pulpit rabbi. But it was the first time I would run 22K, followed by 10K, followed by 10K in 3 days. So, and that happened only 3 weeks ago, as I was preparing for the high holidays. So what can I say? It really felt like perfect timing for me. In any case, thank you. I didn't want to tell you this story because I wanted to talk about me or my humble achievements as a wannabe runner. On the contrary, I wanted to share this story because it speaks volumes about the people who have the ability to inspire us to do things that we didn't think were possible to achieve before. If you think about this, we all have people in our lives that inspire us. People that we look up to, whether because they go above and beyond helping others, or because they always find the time to make us feel special. Some of us are inspired by people who are truly smart, and others are moved by great artists, musicians, or athletes. But most of the time, we are inspired by the people who were there for us when we needed them, by people who offered us their support and unconditional love, and by people who showed us the way, both in speech and in deed. Being inspired by another human being is one of the most moving experiences that we can go through in life. It is such a powerful feeling. When inspired, we are willing to aim higher than what we would usually do, because we believe at those times that no one's gonna stop us now. When inspired, we feel unbeatable, and those moments are so precious that we want to keep them forever, even if we know that it is not really possible. When we are inspired, physical distance doesn't seem to matter as much. For example, I don't think that I will ever meet this guy, Tommy Reeves, but that doesn't take away from his ability to push me to become a better runner 6 days a week. I don't think that I will ever be able to become friendly with the guy who has been coaching my hometown soccer team for the last 8 years. And yet, when I went last July to Buenos Aires and I had the chance to go to the stadium to see a game after like 20 years, I was chanting his name like crazy with another 70,000 people, because this guy, Rabbi Gustavo knows, because he's a smart guy. We share the same team. This guy has led the team to some of the biggest victories in our history. And because now that we didn't have a great season, he has shown a ton of character after more than a couple of painful defeats. People can inspire us when they are winners, but they can inspire us even more when they are going through rough times. And if you are like a Star Wars buff, this is what Master Yoda said: the greatest teacher failure is. And he's right. We are inspired by winners, but I think that we are inspired even more by the people that we see struggling and overcoming those struggles. Today we are here to remember the people who have inspired us all along the way. When we think about them, we may come to realize that they were not necessarily famous, but that they were remarkable in their own way. The people we remember today have tried their best to teach us how to live life of meaning, and some of them have also taught us how to face death with dignity and peace of mind. We are here to remember people who didn't win them all, to people who have struggled as we have to struggle, and to people who did the best they could under their given circumstances. We are here today because we believe that love can be stronger than death, and because through love we can overcome the pain that we feel for those we are missing the most. If you think about this, love has a strange, paradoxical quality associated with it, or to it. To love means to know that at one point or another, we will be heartbroken. To love is to allow ourselves to be vulnerable in front of others. And that means that we won't have any major lines of defense when those people are gone. To love is to understand that we won't be able to avoid moments of deep longing. And yet, if you have ever loved, you know that you wouldn't want it any other way. Because a life without love and a life without inspiration is almost impossible to bear. When our hearts are shattered because we miss someone very much, we may not know what to do with the overwhelming love that we still feel for the person that is now gone. And that can be truly very painful. But then, at those moments, it is when Yizkor comes to remind us that our love, that the love that we feel, that the love that we continue to feel, has not been in vain. Today, our rituals are whispering in our ears, don't forget that you were loved. And don't forget that the love that you still feel can become exactly what you need in order to honor your past and embrace your future. Today, we believe that the same love that has brought us here, together with all the sweet memories that we keep close to our hearts, can motivate us to inspire those who are still around us. We may be aching, but deep down we know that we have what it takes to transform our own suffering into the bridge that we can use to connect to the sorrow that others might be feeling as well. And as we reach out to one another, together, we may be able to alleviate some of our longings, and together, we may be able to heal. In Hebrew, we say, Yehi Zichram Baruch. May the memories of those we remember today remain a blessing and an inspiration to all of us. Utei nishmatam tzurot bitzror achaim. And may their souls be bound up in the bonds of life eternal, today and every day. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.